Hello, everyone, and welcome to For the Love of Animals, a presentation of Pinellas County Animal Services and Inspiration 1110 AM. I'm your host, Len Zazinski from the Pinellas County Communications Department. For the Love of Animals is a celebration of our connection and commitment to all things animal-related in the Tampa Bay area. And during the next hour, we'll be sharing with you information about the animals we love and the services and programs provided by Pinellas County Animal Services. There are many, many dogs and cats up for adoption at Pinellas County Animal Services. But this morning, we are going to chronicle the journey of one of these animals to illustrate what all a dog might have to go through to find the right forever home and the valuable contribution our animal rescue partners provide in getting the perfect dog matched up with the perfect family. With me today is Animal Services Adoptions, Rescues, and Foster Coordinator Tyson Youts to tell us the story of Rosie. Tyson, first of all, good morning.
Hello, Len.
Welcome to the program.
Good to be here
Nice
again.
to have you there. And before we talk about Rosie, we just got through your pity party, your pit bull pity party a couple of Saturdays ago.
Yes.
How did that go?
It went, for the time of year, very good, because the time of year right before school is the time when businesses that are not selling school supplies typically don't sell a lot. So we did have 5 adoptions of dogs.
Okay, that's
and
good.
That was very good. And we had adopters from Pasco County and Hernando County. People have watched the videos, look at the website
sure.
to see the digital media of animals that we have available for adoption. And even more people that came to the pity party a little later in the day when it was closing down, they came back on Monday. So we had even more adoptions following that.
Well, we talked about before the program a little bit that there's still a little misunderstanding out there in the public about pit bulls and their temperament and their behavior and that sort of thing.
It is hard to break stereotypes.
True. How
really
true.
is.
Well, we have a story here that's going to chip away at that stereotype quite a bit, I think, and perhaps establish a new stereotype. And that is the story of Rosie, the pit bull, who was adopted. Actually, it was a long story, how she came to be at Animal Services from where she is now. First of all, how did Rosie come to be at Animal Services, Rosie the pit bull?
I've always wanted to say this on radio. It was a dark and stormy night. Rosie was found.
Yeah.
It literally was a dark and stormy night. Rosie was found in March, the end of March, by a sheriff's office deputy who got her and brought her into the shelter to get her off the road because it's dark and stormy night. It's not safe to be on the streets at night. And he brought her to our nighttime drop-off area that is accessible by our law enforcement personnel. And we don't know who she belonged to or who her owner was. No one came in to look for her. And unfortunately, because animals are sometimes treated like property, people just figure, I'll get another one. And they just do that. It's just a horrible thing.
Well, what was her temperament? I mean, she must have been scared. She must have been just riddled with anxiety. What was her temperament?
A lot of animals do come in frightened, and Rosie actually came in fairly happy.
Okay.
And she, like many other younger dogs, she was only a year old when she came in. We held her for a period of 4 days to see if an owner would show and come for her. No one did. So we examined her, and she passed all of our adoption criteria of being tame and healthy, and she was a sweetheart. And that was great. But then she sat, and I don't mean trained to sit.
Yeah,
she
no,
just sat in the kennel.
Nobody wanted her. And why no takers? Why do you suppose?
Well, the stereotype of the breed. And there are so many people still that have these unfounded beliefs that the animals are just no good.
Well, in July, I read some of the old Facebook posts on the Animal Services Facebook page, and somebody said that Rosie was running out of time. Now, what does that mean?
Well, she was in that at one point, she was in May. She caught a cold, kennel cough. We're a kennel, so animals catch kennel cough or colds. So that was the beginning of it. She had to go in an isolation area where it was very boring, and she had to go through a round of antibiotics till she was done with it. Following that, she began to lose weight. And it's great to lose weight. I need to lose a lot more weight than I have in a while. But if a dog starts to lose weight and is not eating and drinking well, and you see it looking a little morose or sad, then you know that the dog is bored, needs more interaction. And this is a breed that is so intelligent that when it sits in a kennel for months at a time, they can just waste away.
So tell me how the Paws Rescue Group got involved.
Well, the first thing that happened was Rosie got placed with a foster.
Oh, and here locally?
Yes.
Okay.
We have great volunteers that come in. They help us. We have animals that come in that need foster that are dogs or cats that maybe they're too young and need to grow up a little more. or they have some fear issues or timid, any number of reasons. But we have these great volunteers and staff that help solve these problems so that the animal is more adoptable. Paws Rescue Group is one of the rescues that Pinellas County Animal Services works with. There's a lot of them, and the process to become an approved rescue is not hard at all. You can go onto our website and click on the rescue group area there, and you can look at what the requirements are. And Paws ended up getting trying to find a place for Rosie. And there's a limited number of foster homes and things that are out there for rescues, so sometimes it takes a little while to place some animals that are in need of rescue. But as Rosie was losing weight and the foster was getting her to gain weight, the Paws Rescue Group found somebody who was interested in the dog. And this person lived pretty far away, all the way in Virginia.
In Virginia, so quite a journey for Rosie.
Quite a journey.
But now, when she got to Virginia, what happened to Rosie when she first got to Virginia?
Well, Rosie was pulled by one of the fosters, or one of the people that work with Paws Rescue. Then they drove to Virginia, and she traveled very well. Certainly a car riding dog. And the drive to Virginia, it takes a little while to get all the way there. I haven't been to Virginia, so Rosie's better traveled than myself. When they got the dog to Virginia, the dog is to be trained and is being trained as a companion dog, a certified companion dog, to help the owner's son, detect seizures.
And this is such an important part of the story. Andrew is the young boy's name, as I understand it, and he does have this disability. And Rosie now is actually helping him to cope with that disability.
Correct. She is helping to prevent and even to detect seizures before they happen. Dogs are intelligent enough and have much more heightened abilities than we have that they can, in some cases, detect cancer and detect seizures.
Now, the trainers up there said that Rosie was a hard worker. She's eager to please, eager to work. She has a working drive, he said. What is a working drive?
She wants to do anything to please and make her owners happy. She has this drive for approval, much like many of us do. We want the approval of our peers, and Rosie's the same. She wants to know that she's done a good job, so she will do anything to hear, "Good job, Rosie. Good dog."
Now, she lives with the family up there, and Andrew.
She does live with the family as she's going through her certification and training.
And you said that is quite an arduous process to get a dog certified. She has to be a good student, a hard worker.
Yes, the animal has to be suitable for training. And once that's done, then the training, a lot of animals wash out and just can't do it. But she's doing very well with that.
And certainly, I've seen pictures. They look very comfortable. Andrew and Rosie, they're on the couch together. They're hanging out together. They look like a wonderful match. They're wonderful companions for each other,
So it looks like Rosie and Andrew both saved each other.
How typical or atypical is Rosie's story?
It is atypical, but it should be typical. Because the breed is so driven to please and obey and do whatever it takes to make its owner happy. More and more American Pit Bull Terriers are being used as companion dogs, as therapy dogs. And it's happening extremely quickly. I mean, the numbers of them being used for that and applying for that are skyrocketing. Because people are learning and discovering the heart of the breed is just to please and do anything it can.
So, and that's great. Once again, they're smart dogs. They're intelligent dogs. They can be trained the wrong way. We mentioned this before. There are no bad dogs, just bad dog owners. And for some reason, pit bulls get possessed, if you will, by people that maybe don't have their best interest at heart.
It's very common, unfortunately, for people to train intentionally badly or unintentionally badly.
Yeah.
If you get a high-energy puppy and you think, oh, it's so cute that it's chewing on this little rubber squeaky toy that looks like a pair of Nike sneakers, you can't be angry with the dog 6 months later when it destroys your Nike sneakers.
Yeah, but once again, you can change that training for the better. And we're going to be talking to a young lady here coming up on the program that adopted a pit bull that needed some loving care and attention. The pit bull got loving care and attention, and it's a great pit bull. It's a great dog.
And when they get that care and attention, then they give it right back.
All right, and proof is in the pudding, and the proof is the story of Rosie. So, Tyson, thanks very much for sharing that with us.
Anytime, Lynn.
I'd like to thank my guest on this part of the program, Tyson Youts, ARF Coordinator with Pinellas County Animal Services, and that stands for Adoptions, Rescues, and Fosters. And we would encourage our listeners, if you have any comments or questions about anything we've talked about on the program, send us an email, animals@pinellascounty.org, and we'll share your concerns on a future edition of For the Love of Animals. Well, coming up after the break, Dr. Caroline from Pinellas County Animal Services talks to us about how to care for an elderly pet. Stay with us. And we're back. Welcome back to For the Love of Animals, a presentation of Pinellas County Animal Services at Inspiration 1110 AM. I'm Len Szynski with the Pinellas County Communications Department. Old age is creeping up on us all, I'm somewhat reluctant to admit. But for our dogs and cats, it creeps in at 7 times the aging rate for humans. Your dog may be a young teenager in human years, but he could be suffering from the afflictions of old age, and you'll want to do everything you can as a pet owner to make his senior years comfortable. Well, with me today to share some advice on the subject is Dr. Caroline, Director of Veterinary Services for Pinellas County Animal Services. And Dr. Caroline, welcome back to the program.
Well, thanks for having me, Len.
Always a pleasure having you sitting over there.
Same here.
Dr. Caroline, how long do dogs and cats live, typically?
Well, it depends on the size of the animal. Cats typically about 14 to 20 years. Dogs, it's very dependent on size. So our giant breed dogs, like a Great Dane or an Irish Wolfhound, typically 7 to 9 years. But some of our very small breeds, perhaps like a Yorkshire Terrier or a Maltese, they're going to live anywhere between 14 and 18 years.
So when do they start getting old? 65 is like senior citizens in human age, but when do our animals turn 65?
Usually when they're getting to the point, we consider a senior pet any pet that's over about 6 or 7 human years of age. Mm-hmm. And after that point, we want to watch them a little bit more closely and follow their progress a little bit more carefully medically to make sure that if any medical problems are developing, that we're right on top of that and we're addressing them before the animal's very sick.
Well, what are some of the signs of old age? They can't talk, they can't complain, obviously, but what are some of the signs that we should look for as the pet's age?
Well, changes in activity are a really big indication, and sometimes those can come on gradually, but are they sleeping more? Are they less likely to jump up or go on a walk? Sometimes we'll attribute that to old age when actually we have an underlying health problem like arthritis or sore joints. Or perhaps we have an underlying medical issue with one of the internal organs. And that's why really being in close contact with your veterinarian as your pet ages and making sure you're keeping up on things like routine blood work and physical exams can make sure that what you're seeing at home is just old age and there's not something else going on, since our pets can't talk and tell us what they're feeling.
Well, and I was going to talk to you about that. I mean, eyesight, hearing in humans, that degrades after a period of time, and I would imagine the same thing is true for dogs and cats. But you're saying that there may be some underlying reason for them to act old that can be corrected at the veterinarian's office.
Exactly. And I think the big thing that we see is arthritis, and people think, oh, well, if I'm in pain, I'm going to vocalize about it, I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to cry out. And so they expect the same kind of reactions from our pets. Well, our pets evolutionarily are going to try and hide signs of pain. They're typically not going to vocalize or show us. A lot of times they aren't going to limp or anything like that, but yet they're still in pain. And that's where your veterinarian is really the best one to kind of advise you to do an evaluation and help you look a little bit closer to see if that might be an issue.
When does old age affect behavior? And the reason I ask is because we mentioned eyesight and hearing. Dogs and cats do lose their eyesight. They get glaucoma and cataracts. Hearing goes bad. When does that start to affect behavior?
Well, when we get to the point with eyesight, that we can't see very well. Sometimes they'll have difficulty in dim light, so dusk and dawn they'll have trouble, but they'll be okay during the day. That can affect their ability to find their way back in or potentially respond. Same with hearing. If they can't hear commands that you're used to using to tell them different things to do, then that can be a problem. Although some of them do have selective hearing as they age as well.
All God's creatures, I think, go through that. What about dementia? Do dogs get dementia? They
do. They do suffer from senility and cognitive dysfunction. Sometimes that's just being confused a little bit. Maybe getting out in the yard and getting confused on the ways to come back inside. Sometimes they'll be in the house and they'll get stuck in a corner and have trouble finding their way back to where they need to be. And so the veterinarian can really be helpful in discussing those signs with you. There are some medications to help combat those kind of issues in your pet, especially if it's to the point where it's really affecting quality of life. And so if you're noticing any sort of cognitive dysfunction or senility, definitely a consultation with your vet's important, because there are some medical issues underlying too that can cause changes in the brain function. You want to make sure it's not an underlying liver or kidney or other problem that's causing your pet to act a little off. You don't want to just assume it's senility.
Are there food supplements that we can give a pet to put a new pep in their step? Are there vitamins or food supplements that, or can we change the pet food accordingly to give them a little bit more energy?
Oh, we definitely can, Lynn. And one of the things that's very important is that a senior pet is on a senior pet diet. And most pet foods out there have a formulation for senior pets that changes the vitamins and nutrients and minerals in there that they need to help support their function in their old age. A lot of pets also would benefit from a joint supplement called glucosamine and chondroitin sulfate. And a lot of people take these kind of joint supplements for ourselves, for our aging cartilage and joints. That can be very helpful. The best supplements that you can get and the highest quality are going to be from your veterinarian, and they can help advise you on the dosage. But those are some things that can be very beneficial. But typically a multivitamin, something like that, if you're feeding a well-balanced pet food, you don't need to add anything additional to that.
What about loss of appetite? It's sometimes hard to imagine a dog having a loss of appetite, but I understand that as a pet ages, maybe the teeth go bad a little bit. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to get him to eat.
It can, and if you're noticing any change in appetite, that's one of the big indications to us that you need to be in contact with your veterinarian. Like you said, Lynn, is it a dental issue? Do we have a painful or an abscessed tooth that needs to be addressed? Also, decrease in appetite can be a sign of underlying pain. So maybe we have pain somewhere. None of us want our pets to be in pain. Or another underlying disease with maybe one of our internal organs that we're not able to see any outward signs of until it's really, really serious. And just like with us, if we can catch these things early and intervene early with therapy and treatment, we're going to be a lot more successful as opposed to taking our pet with end-stage organ failure into the vet. There's not going to be as much that we can do. So if you notice changes in appetite, anything like that, that should be addressed medically immediately.
Do dogs and cats get cancer?
They do. They do. And we see a lot of different types of cancers in dogs and cats. And so our best way to detect that is to monitor their behavior closely. Any changes in behavior, have an evaluation done by your veterinarian, and also doing routine senior blood work to kind of look inside the organs to see what's going on. Unfortunately, there's no blood test or perfect test to detect cancer. But what we can detect are any changes in any organs that might be affected. And your veterinarian's very skilled at doing a physical exam. Do they feel any changes in the internal organs or anything like that might indicate we need to look a little bit further?
Here's the big question, and it's a tough question for people if you've had to go through it, and I know you have, and many of us in the audience have had to go through this question as well, have had to come up with an answer for this question. But when is it time to finally say goodbye? When is it time to finally allow that pet to go gentle into that good night?
And that's a really tough question, Lynn, because I think it's dependent on each individual animal and their quality of life. I'm a big fan of quality, having a good quality of life, not necessarily quantity. Obviously, if we could have both, that would be great. But if we have to pick one, I think quality is the most important. And I think most people are on the same page as far as that goes. So talking with your veterinarian, watching your pet's behavior very closely, and communicating with your veterinarian about what you're seeing, they can kind of help guide you in that decision. I think ultimately that decision rests with the pet owner because they're with that pet all the time. They see that pet every day. They know what makes them happy. They know what makes them sad and all of those things. But your veterinarian can be a very good sounding board. The other thing a lot of pet owners aren't aware of that's out there is there are veterinarians that practice veterinary hospice. So once we've got a pet that's to the point where we know the end is coming soon, but we want to make sure they're comfortable. There are veterinarians out there that specialize in hospice care, and they're also very, very good at working with you to determine when the right time is to say goodbye. And so talk with your veterinarian about hospice care. If they don't provide it, they should be able to give you a referral to somebody in there, and there's a number of veterinarians in the Tampa Bay area that provide that kind of care.
And I know the people at Animal Services are great. I know former director Dr. Welch Agnew referred to it as one last act of kindness.
It is. It is.
Brought tears to my eye when it happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
If 5 or 6 ways, we talked about going to the vet because the vet can see things that we can't see and things that the dog, cat won't tell us. But kind of in a nutshell, how can we best prolong a pet's life, though? How can we prolong their life and ensure that they have a higher quality of life from the time they're a puppy? What can we do to best prolong that life of that animal?
I think it's the same things we do with us. We focus on, excellent nutrition. We focus on exercise and happiness. Luckily our pets aren't stressed out like we are, so they don't have to worry about that as much. But also high quality medical care and preventive care. Seeing our doctors regularly to make sure that we're healthy with routine physicals and blood work and vaccinations. The same thing for our pets. And if we stay on top of that and we act from a preventive mind approach, we're not going to have the kind of problems develop and catch those at the end stages where we really compromise quality of life.
Let's hope all our pets have long and happy lives.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. My guest on this segment of For the Love of Animals, Dr. Caroline, Director of Veterinary Services for Pinellas County Animal Services. Remember, if you have a question for Dr. Caroline, simply email it to us at animals@pinellascounty.org, and we'll give you an answer on an upcoming edition of For the Love of Animals. Well, coming up after the break, we'll find out more information about the pets we love and some of the important programs provided by Pinellas County Animal Services. You stay with us. Welcome back to For the Love of Animals. I'm Len Szynski with the Pinellas County Communications Department. Well, earlier in the program, we heard a heartwarming story of Rosie the Pit Bull and how she found a purpose in life and a wonderful forever home with a family in Virginia. But there are many, many successful adoption stories out there that have taken place locally right here at home, and we've got a local story to share with you right now. Here today to talk about some of the joys she's found at Pinellas County Animal Services is Palm Harbor resident Shannon Mills. Shannon, hi there.
Hi there.
Welcome to the program. So nice to have you aboard here.
Happy to be here.
And you are a pet lover. You are a pet owner. I understand there's a Rosie connection, referencing that story that we talked about at the beginning of the program. You actually know Rosie and spent some time with her.
Yeah, we fostered her for a couple weeks while they were arranging her transport to Virginia because she had been in the shelter for so long and she just was losing weight, didn't want to be there anymore, so she crashed at our house for a couple weeks. And
what was that experience like? Did she recover? Did she improve in her health and her behavior and everything?
Yeah, when my husband actually picked her up from the shelter, and she had been there for months, and she was scared to leave. She was shaking. She was so nervous, and we brought her home. She slept. She ate. She actually gained, I think, 16 pounds in that couple weeks she was with us.
Wow, that's great.
And she just learned to be a dog again, playing around. She played with Smiley, our dog, and just, her personality shined through, and it was just really fun to see that transformation.
Learned how to be a dog again.
Yeah, because, in the shelter, she just wasn't doing well because dogs just aren't meant to be in that environment for months and months.
Yeah, sure.
It's supposed to be a temporary thing while they wait. So fostering is really a great way for a dog to have some extra time to find a forever home and also transition out of shelter life.
Well, what was it like to give Rosie up when the time was up?
It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
If I said it was easy, I'd be lying. I said goodbye to her and I gave her up, and I cried.
Yeah, sure.
But it was tears of joy.
Yeah.
It wasn't sadness. I'd rather be crying tears of joy than tears of sadness that she found a forever home and she made it out. So.
Do you get updates on Rosie's progress?
I've gotten a couple. I've gotten a couple pictures of her with her forever family, and she just looks so happy. So.
Well, that Rosie story was so great, so heartwarming, and once again, we are all very happy that she's up there in Virginia and doing some good work and having a good time and experiencing a loving forever home. Okay, let's talk about Smiley. You mentioned Smiley. You adopted Smiley, who was a pit bull mix, I understand?
Yep, she's a pit bull. We think a little bit of boxer, too.
Okay. And that was in March. So how
Yes.
did the story begin? How did you come to be at Animal Services looking for a dog?
So I actually was watching those videos they post on the Facebook. They post them pretty much daily, and I had been watching them. Usually after work on the couch, watching them, sometimes crying.
Shannon.
I know, but just seeing all these dogs and wanting to take one home. So in February, I think I started talking to my husband about getting a dog because we had a house and a yard, and we had a fence in our yard. But I was like, let's get a dog. So Smiley, we saw in the video, but then they also posted an additional video of her playing with another dog in the play yard. And she just looked like such a fun dog, and my husband fell in love with her with that video, and he just wanted to go get her.
So that was the purpose. You went to Animal Services to get that particular dog. So you didn't look around other places, other shelters?
For me, I saw Animal Services, and I just didn't. When I talked with people, a lot of people didn't go to Animal Services, and I thought, what a great way to bring awareness to the shelter that not a lot of people might go to. They might go to, hopefully not a pet store, but, maybe Humane Society or, which are great shelters, but there's also another shelter that all the dogs go to and are, they always need people to adopt.
So you saw Smiley for the first time on the video, and what was it like when you saw her in person for that first time?
Oh, she has a little nub. It was wagging, and she just looked so happy. And, we took her out in the play yard and we played with her, but, it was a done deal. There were a couple dogs that, she might not have been there on Saturday because we saw her on the video during the week, and we couldn't go till the weekend. So if she wasn't there, there were a couple other dogs I'd been eyeing, but my husband was sold on her. So she was there. We saw her out in the play yard, and we're like, we're going to take her home.
So what was that first day like when you did first get her home? How did she like her new home? Did she settle in pretty quickly? What was it like?
She was a little, cautious, a little crazy. She had a couple accidents in the house. Oops. And the one thing that was a change was, she was a little skinny, so we were trying to feed her, and we had to switch her food a little bit because the food we first gave her, she didn't agree with her. Yeah. So, and her skin, was red, so we feed her.
She took a little work, a little love on your part.
Yeah, I know, and she had some weight to gain, but she's filled out.
And that was in March, so you've had her a good couple of months now.
Yeah.
And how's she doing now? You said she filled in. She's settling in.
Yeah, she's great. We've been working on training with her, and then, bringing Rosie in. She did great. She loved having Rosie there. She just wanted to play with her all the time. So there were a couple times we had to, put them apart because Rosie would get a little overwhelmed. But Smiley, she thrives, when we have a foster, and when it's just us, she loves that too. So she's a great dog.
So what's her favorite activity? What does she like to do? You said you had a backyard, so that's nice.
Yep.
Lots of opportunity there.
Yeah, she loves to run around, except when it's raining. She won't go outside.
Who can blame her for that?
We love to take her to the dog park. And, some people say don't take your pit bull there, but, she loves going there, running around, playing with other dogs. That was probably our biggest priority when we got her, is we wanted to socialize her with other dogs because we didn't know. We knew she played well from that video, but we wanted to keep that going. So we love taking her to the local dog parks. We like to take her to the beach. She still isn't, 100%. Okay around water, but But we took her actually to the Fort DeSoto dog beach not too long ago, off leash, which was a little outside our comfort zone, and I ran in the water and swam out, and she actually swam after me, and probably because she thought I was drowning, because after that she wouldn't go back in.
Well, we've talked a lot about pit bulls on this program and the fact that they do have a bad rap, and there is some prejudice against them. And you were saying that that's kind of your experience as well, that some people are a little wary when they see you with a dog. Is there any reason for them to be concerned?
No, you really should just judge a dog on its individual personality and temperament, because small dogs can be aggressive, large dogs can be aggressive. It's really how they're managed. Smiley didn't come from the best background. She was at the shelter twice, and from what the volunteers told me, because a lot of them were there the first time and the second time she was there, she was first rescued from a hoarding situation, and then the second time she was found as a stray, and the owners didn't come get her. So she didn't maybe have the best upbringing, but now she's a well-adjusted dog.
And she has responded well to the love that you have given her.
Yeah, and we try to stay consistent with our training and teaching her what to do, what not to do. And one of our long-term goals is to have her certified as a canine good citizen.
Okay.
Because having a pit bull earn that certification is really great for the community to see that a pit bull can be a great dog in the community. And I love taking her out to events and having kids pet her and kind of changing people's perceptions.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my friends are like, oh, pit bulls will turn on their owners, and I'm like, I don't think Smiley's going to do that to me anytime soon, unless I stop feeding her.
As they say, there are no bad dogs, there are only bad dog owners.
Exactly.
Sounds like Smiley has really enriched your life quite a bit.
Oh yeah, she's definitely changed our lives a lot, but for the better. I actually, when it's not 100 degrees outside, I'll go running with her, and so she exercises me. And right now, we're just down to walking because it's so hot.
It's so hot, I know, but I understand that pit bulls do have a lot of energy.
Yes, if you do adopt a pit bull, some of them can be medium to high energy. So when we got her, she had a lot of pent up energy just from being at the shelter. So I'd run with her. I actually bought her a backpack to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because walks and running just weren't enough. So I'd put like soup cans.
Oh my goodness!
And
so it's weights you wear for Smiley.
Yeah, you can buy dog backpacks at any pet store.
Sure.
So.
Well, there you go. That'll increase the workout, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're definitely a great dog if you like to get out and walk or hike or run.
Do you have a foster pet right now?
I do. We actually have Denver. We've had him, I think, almost 2 weeks. He was a similar situation to Rosie. He had just been at the shelter too long. He's another pit bull mix, and they just take longer to get adopted. So
now you're going to have to give Denver up here in a couple of months.
Yeah. No, we've been taking him to adoption events and kind of plugging him, and I sincerely hope he gets adopted. He's a great dog, and it will be hard, but
once again, you say that you had Denver a couple of months now, and you were able to improve his demeanor. You were able to put some weight on him, get him a little healthier and happier. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Denver was skinny too, so we've been feeding him. Not overfeeding him, but just feeding him, some puppy food that's a little higher in fat to kind of help him fill out a little bit. And then kind of working on his training. He likes to bark, so, working on that so that when he goes to his forever home, it's a easier adjustment.
Well, that's why foster pet parents are so important to us, to get those animals ready for a good adoption experience and to get them into a forever home that they can be in forever and be happy in.
Yes,
definitely. So there you go. Shannon, thank you very much for being a part of that whole program. And good luck to you and Smiley in the future. Well, thanks to my guest this time around, Shannon Mills, a volunteer with Pinellas County Animal Services and a proud foster pet parent. We remind you that Pinellas County Animal Services is always looking for volunteers of all ages. If anyone in our broadcast audience is interested in volunteering their time at Pinellas County Animal Services, complete information is on the Animal Services website at pinellascounty.org/animal services. Just scroll down and hit the volunteer link or send us an email at animals@pinellascounty.org. Well, coming up after the break, we go to the mailbag once again to answer some of your questions about cats and dogs and other animals when we come back. Well, we're back. Welcome back to For the Love of Animals, a presentation of Pinellas County Animal Services and Inspiration 1110 AM. I'm your host, Len Szynski, and joining me right now is John Hohenstern, Senior Animal Control Officer at Pinellas County Animal Services. And John, welcome to the program once again.
Thank you, Len. How are you doing?
Good. How's your vacation?
Oh, excellent. We live in a great place. People, come from all over the world to come and visit Florida, and we live here.
I know, and it's so great to go someplace, like go to the beach, and then have a nice vacation, and then all you have to do is drive home. You don't have to go to the airport or anything like that.
Yeah, the staycation, yes.
So it's great. Okay, well, good. Well, welcome back to the program here, and we are at our mailbag segment once again. We got a lot of interesting letters coming in this week while you were on vacation, so let's see what people want to know. Here's Deborah from Clearwater. She says she's starting a dog boarding service for when people go out of town. They can bring their dog to Deborah's, but she says, what sort of license licenses and permits do I need? Now, for generally speaking, Pinellas County does not issue business permits in Pinellas County. Typically, you have to check with the state of Florida or your municipality. And my question to you in all of this is, if someone has a business that deals with animals like this, like a dog boarding business, a kennel, are there any kind of codes that they have to follow for the animal's sake, or any kind of inspections that they have to schedule, or what's the deal?
Well, yes, actually, they'd be considered a pet dealer or breeder because they're making money on an animal. So if you board for a living,
right?
We actually have a permit for that.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yes, we do. Or whatever.
So Deborah has to check with Animal Services.
That's right. And she'll be inspected, once a year, or upon a complaint, or when she, initially gets on board. We'll come through, take a look at the facility, make sure there's, adequate lighting and ventilation, and then we'll come through once a year and make sure that, everybody that she has there at the time is current on their license and their rabies vaccination, and everything's clean and ready to go. And
so that's great, so that we know that if we entrust our dogs to Deborah's care, that they will have the best of treatment according to Animal Services.
Well, and it's one of those things where if you have a bad experience at a boarding facility, we hear about it.
Yeah, sure.
If you don't do what you're supposed to do, we're going to show up.
Well, it's good to know that you guys are patrolling the grounds out there, keeping everything up to snuff. Another email here from Stephanie. Actually, she's in Pasco County, and she's talking to us. I don't know why, but she gave us a letter saying, I have a concern about a dog. I left my dog in the supervision of a former friend who knew my dog's stay with her would not be permanent. She is refusing now to give the dog back. So that's a problem with Stephanie. Sarah also has a problem. She says she recently acquired a cat from a couple off Craigslist. They gave me her rabies license information, but ownership has not officially been transferred. And that leads me to the question for you. How do you prove that you own a dog or a cat? And we've had some famous disputes, a lot of dogs that were displaced because of hurricanes or another natural catastrophe. All of a sudden, there's a dispute as to who owns the dog. So how do you prove who owns the dog?
Well, unfortunately, a dog in Florida is considered property.
Okay.
So, who is the dog registered to?
And by registered, what do you mean by registered?
Their license. Who is their license registered to? That's the owner. Because if we find a stray dog running loose, and you were dog sitting for a friend, and you live in Palm Harbor, but they're in St. Pete, you know what? We're going to try to return that dog to St. Pete, where the dog's registered to, because that's where we think it belongs.
Now, if I have kept it, say I found a stray dog, and all of a sudden I'm getting very attached to the dog, I take it to the vet maybe, I give it treatment, I spend some money on the dog, do I have any sort of claim on ownership because of all that?
Well, no, not really.
Okay.
If you have the dog for 30 days, and you've made every effort to put up signs, found dog, or got in touch with the Times, and like we take found dog reports at Animal Services as well. If you find a dog and you are attached to it, we'll take a found dog report and put it in a book in our lobby, so when people come through looking for their own lost dogs, they'll know that you have one as well.
So another reason to check with Animal Services first if I find a stray dog in the neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if I buy a dog from somebody, if I acquire a dog, if somebody just gives me the dog, and all of a sudden 6 months later they have a change of heart and they want the dog back again. Well, so somebody gave me that dog.
Yeah, as long as you've got something to prove.
So what should I do?
Well, technically, when an animal changes ownership, you should get it registered in your name quickly.
So contact you all and say, okay, change the information on the database.
Right. The greatest thing to do, or that would be, you bring the old owner and the new owner comes to us. They can change ownership right there at the front counter, and in that way everybody knows exactly what's going on.
So it is like buying a car.
Ish, yeah, because just like if your car breaks down, and the tag, if you don't keep your tag information up to date, the same thing about the dog license. If we find a dog and we want to get it home, and as long as all that information is up to date and correct, then we can get them home.
And we keep reminding people, keep that information up to date. Make sure Animal Services knows what's going on in your life.
Yeah, right.
So that if something happens, they can stand behind you.
Yeah, we want everybody to go home. We want to take people home.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to Leanne Cross from Tarpon Springs. She says, oh boy, there's a stray female cat in our neighborhood that's been roaming around and now has 2 kittens. Apparently, the essence of the email was that we've talked a lot about feral cats and neighborhoods that are just inundated with cats. But here's one that has kind of chosen her front porch to have a litter of kittens, 2 kittens, she says here. But the kittens are very, very small. They're newborn. Now, what do you do if somebody gives you a call and you go out and you get a mama cat in a litter that's just teeny tiny and too young to be adoptable?
Well, we have a great foster network. As long as we have the mama cat and the kittens, and we've got a foster family, or that's willing to take care of them until they get to be 2 pounds or eating on their own, so we can get them adopted out, then that's what we do.
So we've talked about foster pet parents on the program a lot and how important they are, and here's a case in point in Tarpon Springs. We could really use a foster pet parent for these. I'm sure they're adorable. It's the Dickens.
Yeah, probably very cute kittens. Yes. Yeah. Otherwise, we couldn't do anything with them because we can't provide that kind of care for really newborn kittens.
And does the mama cat go with the kittens to the foster pet parent?
Well, yeah, until they're old enough.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Because why separate kittens from the mom?
Right. Because mom can take care of them better than anybody.
Absolutely. Boy, mom cats know what's best for their kittens. All right. Here's another email from Amanda. She's from Sarasota. She was here visiting, and she went to an alligator attraction, a local alligator attraction. I'm not going to say where, but she was pretty put out. She said that on the second floor of this attraction, a pitiful place, she says, over 50 alligators are held in small tanks with no thought of natural habitat conditions. The young ones were bound in tape for the kids to hold them. I would imagine that's the snout.
Right.
This is cruel, inhumane, and a miserable way for these animals to live. And you got to agree with Amanda here that that's no way to treat an alligator or any of God's creatures. What do you think of something like this? Who helps? Who assists in bringing some humane treatment to these situations?
Well, it's an alligator, so this falls to the state for the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. And we got that email on Monday.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there's a website, and there are people that are holding alligators and kissing them, and they're advertising the fact. Get
your picture taken.
Then the FWC didn't know anything about it either, and we got them on it. They've got somebody going out to see what's going on out there.
So that's good that they are the agency that will respond to charges like that.
Yeah, for alligators.
All right, let's go to Ryan from Largo. He says that, this is a good one. I get this question a lot. People, especially new residents to Pinellas County, they want to know what the pet policy is about taking your dog to the beach.
Well, we do have some dog beaches in throughout the county, but you really want to check with the local municipality. We've got 24 different cities, in the county, and if they're on the beach, they might have rules that are a lot more restrictive. I know some beaches you can't even have a glass coffee mug on the beach with you. So,
but you guys don't patrol the beaches.
No, we don't. We can't. I mean, we've got 12 animal control officers for the entire.
Although they
town.
would probably like to spend the afternoon at the beach.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be a bad thing if you could get out there.
But people have to understand that there are 4 beaches in Pinellas County that we do control, and that's the parks: Sandkey Park, Fred Howard Park, and of course Fort DeSoto Park. And there is a dog beach at Fort DeSoto Park. Right. So I have to tell Ryan that if he wants to go frolic in the waves with his dog, it's a little far out there, maybe the end of Pinellas County, but certainly Fort DeSoto Beach affords him that opportunity.
It's a beautiful beach.
And the other beaches, unfortunately, there are all these little municipalities up and down the beaches that control that sand, that portion of
and they can have
land.
their own rules that are more restrictive.
And they do. They have all kinds of rules, and we would not speak for them when actually you need to call the municipality yourself to find out. Let's see, we're running short on time. One quick question. Actually, it's not a quick question, but once again, the question from Andrew in Kenneth City. He lives next door to an apartment complex, and apparently what's happening is that a resident of the apartment complex has a dog, even though the apartment complex does not allow dog. Kind of hard to keep a dog secret in an apartment complex, but the dog comes out and poops in his yard. We've talked about this before. Let's talk about it again. Right. There's no law against it, but what can Andrew do?
Well, as far as the condo rule, you can't have a dog. We can't do anything about that. But there is a public nuisance ordinance about a dog defecating on the property of others. So, yeah, this is something that we can do or whatever. He just needs to give us a call, 727-582-2600, and give us the address where the dog owner is, and we'll get out and, tell him what his responsibilities are.
So check with Animal Services. Okay, we'll do that. John, thanks very much. Well, that brings us to the end of our program, and I want to thank our guest this time around, John Hohenstern, Senior Animal Control Officer with Pinellas County Animal Services. You have been listening to For the Love of Animals, presented by Pinellas County Animal Services and Inspiration 1110 a.m. Be sure to be with us next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another episode. And if you have any questions or comments on anything we've talked about on the program, just send us an email at animals@pinellascounty.org or give us a call at 582-2600. For more information on Pinellas County Animal Services, including photos of the dogs and cats up for adoption this week, go to our website, pinellascounty.org/animal services. Once again, thanks for listening. I'm Len Szynski with the Pinellas County Communications Department. Join us next time for The Love of Animals.